Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're going to have a nice live stream today. We're going to learn about application security. It's actually called Learning Application Security by Finding and Fixing Insecure Code in your OWASP NodeGoat project, because you're going to use a vulnerable project today to basically do that. So before we all get started, I'll do some introduction. You are on the Sneak live streams where we tune up every second Tuesday of the week. We'll see how the summer goes, but thank you for joining us. So what do we have today? We were thinking, wouldn't it be great if developers learn about application security by, training on vulnerable apps rather than find them in production, of course. So for that end, my name is Lirantal, a developer advocate at Sneak. I have invited for this session Priscila Oliveira, which we'll get here in a second, who's a software engineer at Sentry and a core contributor to the open source project, the NPM proxy project, called Verdaccio, used by many organizations, spread out when they need private NPM projects, hosting and proxies and caching and all of those things. We're going to learn about some secure coding practices and some vulnerabilities that happen in web applications just by looking at how that goes, and we'll explore this as a tutorial together with you. So without further ado, let me introduce Priscilla. There we go. Hey, how's it going?
Hello everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay, thanks. Excited to do some exploration, live coding, live trying some stuff, or trial and error.
Very excited. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Priscila. I'm from Brazil, but I live in Vienna, Austria. I'm currently employed at Sentry, working as a software engineer, being one of those responsible for the user interface of our application. At Sentry, we develop error and performance monitoring tools to help developers identify whether their applications are healthy. In my free time, I usually contribute to Verdaccio, an open source library of which I'm a part of the core maintainers. In a nutshell, Verdaccio is a lightweight private proxy registry building Node.js. Yeah, that's pretty much about me. Yes.
All right, cool. Let's see what we have on the agenda today. Let me skip the next slide. So meeting you, we'll talk a little bit about your background and maybe explore a little bit more about that. We'll chat a bit about maybe your experience. Maybe we'll start without your experience as a developer, maybe going into apps, maybe application security. Like, what does it mean for you? What did you find related to security in your job? Maybe Verdaccio. We'll see. And we have that live hacking and live coding stuff happening, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, have you ever seen that project, that NodeGoat project thing? Have you seen that?
Yes, I have played a little bit with it in the past few days, and yeah, it's really cool. I mean, you have the opportunity to explore an application full of vulnerabilities and try to fix it, and it's really cool. It's a cool initiative.
It's great when it's all the bugs that you did not introduce, someone else, right?
Yes, correct.
Cool. All right. So let me kick this off, and let's talk about you a bit. How did you get into software development? Like, what was your journey? I'm pretty sure some of our listeners are interested in getting your perspective on that. Maybe even if you could share how you got into maybe Verdaccio as like an open source project, because a lot of people want to get involved. So I mean, this is go ahead.
So it all started when I was a kid, around 8 years old. My dad had bought our first computer, and since then I couldn't imagine my future without one. I loved it. Yeah, when it was time for high school, I asked my parents if they could enroll me in a technical high school with focus on computer programming, and they supported me. I think it was 14 years ago. Time flies. Yeah, so I really loved the clear thinking and analytical approach to problem solving that software development requires. And after the high school, I decided to pursue my studies in engineering. Yeah, I confess that I had to try a little bit because in the beginning I wasn't sure which path I wanted to take. But there was a day I realized that web development, it's the thing I wanted to work on. I'm passionate about it. And Verdaccio, It was when I came back from Prague to Vienna. I lived in Vienna after I moved to Prague and after I came back. And one day I decided to join a local meetup called React Vienna. And in this meetup, I met Juan Picado. He contributes to Verdaccio. He's part of the core team. He's the leader of the core team, let's say. And Juan told me about Verdaccio. And in the beginning, I was a little bit afraid to contribute because I never had contributed before to open source project. But he was telling me trying to motivate me and tell me the benefits of it and that I could learn more and I could exchange experience with other developers. So yeah, one day he convinced me to contribute, and I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I can't remember, but yeah, I'm still contributing. It's really, really nice.
It's a great open source success story, like going to a meetup, meeting someone, is inviting you to contribute to one of his projects, and you end up doing that like a year later. This is pretty cool.
Yes.
Let's talk about maybe Verdaccio just a bit. Like I'll put the URL now. I've added, if you're looking, I guess this is kind of, let me put this in again. I was adding Juan's a Twitter account if you want to reach out and chat with Juan about Verdaccio or joining the project or anything else who's like interested in that. I guess both him and Priscila here are kind of like having a lot of other stuff going on, so I know it's a big project too. So be patient with maintainers. But yeah, let's talk about Verdaccio a bit. This is a pretty big project. This isn't just some library that I wrote that's kind of like anonymous and no one uses. This is a project that if you want to do your own private NPM kind of like hosting or caching and all those kind of like concerns of like managing libraries, you could use this. And this project is open source. And I think a lot of actually like big companies use this themselves, like internally, right? Like the CI processes and testing and things like that.
Yes, many companies are adopting Verdaccio, so we are really excited by the number of new adopters, and it's pretty cool because you can use Verdaccio in many different ways. As for example, if you don't have internet, so you can install your package. I mean, there are many ways to use Verdaccio.
Yeah, I use it with the Docker one. It's just so easy. So just run the Docker image and it pulls off and run. Actually, I see that we have Juan on the on the live stream. Juan, it's an amazing friend, huh? That's pretty cool. Well, so what recent projects have you been working on?
Oh, well, there is a project at Sentry that I'm driving at the moment. It's still at a very early stage, but we are going to convert our enzyme tests to React testing library. And I'm very glad that this is finally happening because this was something I was trying to introduce since I joined the company 1.5 years ago. The purpose of the library is to give you confidence by testing your components in the way the user will use them. So users don't care what happens behind the scenes, don't care about API or internal state of a component. So yeah, it's a new mindset, and it's something I really, really like. So in Sentry, we are currently organizing code sessions where front-end developers come together and try to convert enzyme tests to React testing library. This process, it's cool because we have the opportunity to help each other and slowly trying to understand the library and learn together. Yeah. So yeah. We'll be soon also working on a material to help our team and new joiners to become more familiar with React testing library.
Yeah, it's been I mean, ever since this one is from Kent, right? Kent Odds. Ever since I think he introduced this, it has been gaining massive popularity and adoption. So it's great seeing more of those foundation projects that are helping the ecosystem, and like seeing that coming in. And well, Sentry is open source, so that's pretty cool. Seeing this.
Yes. Yes, that's right. That's from Kenzie Dots. And yeah, this is something I really love about Sentry. We usually discuss, we are always trying to find a new way to improve tooling, providing our developers a better experience, and also our clients a better user experience for our clients. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Cool. Well, what's your prediction for 2021 then? If it's going to be more testing?
Oh, well, it's really hard to answer this question because the
year is already going, maybe for 2022.
Yes. So the web development, it's always evolving, and it's really hard to chase them all. So until a few days ago, I wouldn't have thought to say this, but now with GitHub Copilot, I believe more and more companies will invest in artificial intelligence.
It's been like drawing amazing waves over the Twitter ocean with what's been going on, and all the demos are looking pretty great.
Yes, I tried it this week, and I must say that the algorithms has to learn a little bit more about my code, because it always suggests me something completely wrong, so yeah. I hope they improve it.
Yeah, well, hopefully it doesn't introduce you more bugs than you already write yourselves, I guess.
Yeah.
At least I'll want that. Cool. What else? So we are gonna just dive into some AppSec stuff. And Priscilla, do you have any experience doing like security at your job, or maybe at Verdaccio, or it's like, what do you as a developer like? Where does application security meet you?
Oh yeah, I don't really have much experience. I think web security is a topic often overlooked by front-end developers. When evaluating an application's health, we often looking at metrics such as performance, accessibility, and crashes, but the site's ability to resist malicious attacks often falls under the radar. So when I'm coding, I always try to use the best practice, but I confess that generally I rely on tools to protect the application I'm working on from attackers, or I rely on the security team. So maybe there are more things I could be doing. Until now, fortunately, I have never run into security issues, but this can happen anytime, especially when I'm constantly making use of NPM libraries that are developed by unknown people. So yeah.
Gotcha. Well, it's a common story, right? With not doing not being much around security. It's just like sometimes it meets you somewhere in your journey. Sometimes it's maybe it's every day. Sometimes when you do a lot of npm install every day and you see all those npm audit vulnerabilities coming in, but generally speaking, it's like not something you do day to day, I guess, with security for developers.
Yes, it's a topic we don't really pay much attention. Yeah,
I know it's that's my challenge. Raising the awareness to pay a little bit more attention. But we have you today for this, so thank you for joining again. This is it's gonna be fun. So we're gonna both kind of try and experiment with some security related stuff. It's nothing complicated. Everyone on the show can join us. This is kind of we're gonna be on exploration tutorial mode, seeing what they're trying, the basic stuff, and see what we can learn from it, I guess.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So let me get my screen sharing going here. I see we have a few viewers, so if you want to add any questions or shoot anything over our way, we would love to answer. Let's see. Got a few people on the call. Hey, Kadir is saying hi. Hey there. Thank you for joining us. And we have Michael saying hi. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for joining us as well. So we are going to be focusing a little bit on JavaScript and Node.js here. But I would say overall, I think the experience and learning here is going to be very much, kind of wholesome. So like awareness that you should have anyway. So we said we'll start with this NodeGoat project, and this is part of OWASP. OWASP, I'll give a quick introduction. OWASP is the Open Web Application Security Project, probably somewhere in the website you could find it. But it's basically a group of people who volunteer on their own time to do conference speaking, meetup speaking. There are like local chapters around the world. They build documentation, tutorials, applications that are vulnerable, or just tools for security. So there are a lot of kind of activities. If you want to get involved, go to the website and go from there. One of those is actually this NodeGoat project, which me and Priscila said, like, let's kick this off, this session with NodeGoat. Well, it's basically an intentionally vulnerable application, so we could actually experiment with some of the stuff here. So I've got it running over here. Let me get some of this to the back, and let's kick it off. So npm run dev should get us started with just a local development environment over here. There we go. And should get us inside it. So if you're starting off, you should really just, you could play along with, by the way, with us on this. So it's as easy as cloning the repository here, OWASP NodeGoat. And you do need the MongoDB database for this to work. The easiest thing is just to start off with maybe spawning a Docker container off of a MongoDB image. If you do that, that's going to be probably take a few minutes behind the scenes, but you'll be ready to go. Once you do both of those things and you want to follow along, I'll open this package JSON. You actually need to seed users, which I've already done just a few minutes before we started this session, which is this run script. You need to run npm run db :seed, and this will just add a few users. The users that it adds, let's go to the README over here, is admin. There we go. Admin and then admin 1, 2, 3. I'll try to get things a bit bigger so we can all see them. But basically, this is it. So actually follow along pretty cool here. There we go. This is the app. I'll maximize this a little bit more. Amazing application. Priscila, did we talk about me not really being a front-end person too much? So
no, you didn't mention that. Tell me more.
I'll say one thing. I'm one of those people having difficulties aligning, centering a div in the middle of the screen. So this is me. So I appreciate anything that is, marginally more beautiful than the, bad stuff that I make UI look like. So this is pretty cool. I mean, we have an application here. I'll start any project that I have with a template because this gets me running pretty fast. I think this is probably Bootstrap or something. But anyway, we have an application here so we can explore. And what's interesting about application security, I guess, Priscila, is kind of like trying to figure out where those places where you could inject input in some way. And that could end up being, different kind of input injection that are, attacks, like SQL injection or cross-site scripting injections, just JavaScript, or I don't know, like different stuff. Like you just want to put user input inside it because this is something that you control. So once you are in control of some data and you basically try to figure out how that data flows, blindly, right? You don't have access to the source code sometimes. And you try to figure out how do you actually move towards the flows in the app where the data actually moves. So like there's nothing much here, so we can explore some other pages. What if I were to take you to the profile page, which exists here? So like it looks like this is a nice profile page.
Yeah, it looks like a nice page. We have a form here.
Form, which means input, right?
Yes.
What should I try this? Let's see. I think it needs some stuff here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Needs a specific suffix format, I think. Let's go with that. Okay, this looks like it works. Would there be something else that you'd try here?
Something else that you can try to write some malicious string or something. And
malicious one would be like this.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
An
because
alert.
this will basically render an alert on the screen. That this is just JavaScript onto the screen.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what happens.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
And it looks rather innocent, like, you wouldn't expect those things generally to happen with modern frameworks, which kind of like encode the data. So like when they get those kind of malicious strings or anything else, they use HTML entities to encode this, which means this becomes an HTML entity that is probably something like less than, like all of that kind of syntax. So it happens. What do you do day to day? Is this like you're doing React, I guess, because of that React testing library?
Yes, I usually use React when I work on the front end. And in this case here, I would also validate the input.
Yep.
I usually do the basic things like sanitize, validation, and yeah, it works.
Well, as long as it works, I'm not gonna say anything. But yeah, like I guess doing the sanitization and validation, all of those stuff are great. Sometimes you can't sanitize too much. Like theoretically speaking, someone wants their name to be, script alert, and I don't know, like maybe that's okay with the schema. These are maybe allowed strings or not. It depends. And there are some different payloads. Like people sometimes when they wanna write their own sanitization functions, maybe they find all the regexes that has a script in it, and they just run once on them. So what people do is stuff like they add spaces, which apparently actually works, right? Like if you have a space, that doesn't really mean anything, and the browser like engine works towards the data, actually parses this as a valid script. Or maybe they do things like if you've seen things like that, like maybe they take out the script, the big one, but then when they sanitize it out, you actually get this script happening. So like different reasons for why fully sanitization is a bit tough, but encoding usually works, and you get that by default with most of these modern frameworks, unless you use something like dangerously set inner HTML, which
yeah, I always try to avoid that, but then I use don't purify when it's the case. I have to use it.
Awesome. Sure, there are some edge cases which we can't avoid. Sometimes we want to like customize the link or the toaster, which is I remember cases from my past, needing to do kind of this stuff, like when you show a message toaster, and you don't want this to be just text. You actually want to be a text and maybe a link so someone can open something like a success form or something. So you have to like customize it and do those things. Of course, when you do use Don't Purify, like make sure that you're on the most up-to-date version of Don't Purify, just because like that has vulnerabilities on its own as well. It's just just another library that does this sanitization, and you need to be always kind of like vigilant that this doesn't have any issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, this works. And one of the reasons that this works is we could look back at the code and figure out like what's going on. So let me go back here, not the README here, but let's look where the app is. I think it's servers, and I need to zoom into all of them. So this app doesn't use yet. I guess maybe we'll this app will the NodeGoat app will get some updates, but it uses this is like pure Node.js in terms of the JavaScript here is just a JavaScript templates. So it's using like regular HTML views. There's no like fancy React UI and things like that. And it uses Swig, which Swig has this, if I go and search for it, this one, but I think it's there's like this template system setup. So it actually started off with set defaults, auto escape false. So the reason that we basically were able to just input anything that we wanted, any script tags or something like that, is because we have initialized the Swig templating engine, which renders the view. to not escape by default, which is of course a bad default, and you wouldn't want to do this. But sometimes you get into projects that you kind of like, scaffold like a new project, and someone told you, hey, use this, and this is what I used before, and people may not pay attention to this. Some of the details of running an application. They may forget about this, and this is an easy fix, just to auto escape through, of course, because they want to sanitize everything. But it's the details, and that's kind of like where sometimes those mistakes come in.
Yeah, configuration details. Yeah, maybe people don't read all the documentation and miss such thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what else do we have here? Let's go back to the app. Oh, look at IntelliJ now sucking up all of my RAM. Go back here, and so there are some stuff that you could do here, like this contribute. This is like retirement something savings management system, and in the contribution screen, looks like we can provide some adjustments to this payroll percentage something. If I wanted to change it, I could do something like that. Submitted it. I don't know. Looks like it went from 2% to 1%. What would you try here? I mean, this is another input, and we could try, I guess, the same thing just to see how this works, I guess. I recently read an article that Alert is getting disabled in new Google Chrome versions that are coming out in cross-origin iframes for kind of like these reasons. So people have come up with different ways. So we might see, instead of alert, we're going to see print. I think this was a Portswigger kind of like article where there was, this is pretty new. So interesting to keep an eye on this. But for our reasons, we could try this again. Doesn't work, but looks at the error message, like syntax error unexpected token, our script tag.
Yeah, let's look what we have behind it.
In the code?
Yes.
Okay. This is contributions. Let's go to, where is it? App. One of the routes, I guess, contributions. To me, zoom in again here. So this is because this is a function handler. This is a controller in a sense to this request, or the class, because look at there's several controllers here. Display contributions, update contributions. Yeah, it looks like there's some checks going on. Anything you were catching up to?
So there is this eval function.
Yeah, zoom in a bit more. Oh, this one.
Yeah, this
Okay.
one I don't remember when I used it. I think I never used it. I mean, the JS community recommends us to not use it.
Yeah.
We should remove.
Should remove it. Okay. What does it do basically? I mean, before we remove it, let's figure out. So this is whatever we add here. The eval function is evaluating, I guess, at runtime, right? This is taking JavaScript and pushing it in to the engine behind the scene, the V8 or whatever we're running. So I guess the person who coded this intentional bug wanted to show us how not to use eval to I don't know, parse the string, I guess, because maybe if it's, I don't know what's the idea there, but I guess parsing or something like that was the intention. And if it's doing this, like, let's look at what kind of input would actually work. I mean, this, for example, this is not going to yield an XSS, like a cross-site scripting injection, because like we tried this whole JavaScript thing here, right? And it didn't really work. And kind of the reason is because like this wasn't, this input that we added is not something that was rendered by the browser back to us. So like there's nothing to like process back, but it was rendered on the Node.js server side. So if I could add anything here that's a Node.js kind of like valid command or something, that's where things kind of get messy. And actually, this is look at the IntelliJ. It's basically telling us what you were just saying, right? Warning: executing JavaScript from a string is an enormous security risk. Far too easy for bad actors to run arbitrary code. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're not going to do it, but let's see what happens. So because kind of like now I understand that this is a Node.js runtime, I could try some Node.js commands, and I have like the request here that I could like, read some data and send it back because I have the response object as well. I could use globals, like, this is a favorite of mine. Like I could use process exit and like just kill the process because that's a global. And if I just send that, I don't know what happens. Yeah, page not working, right? This is basically the app just died here. Because at the end. So let's try some other stuff. It's coming back up. See if I have some questions on the chat as well. Try to monitor that one in case anything comes in. All right, what else? Let's take the tutorial mode for this one. Or was there anything else you wanted to point out, Priscila? Anything specific you want to take us through?
Maybe see. I don't know.
Because there's a bunch of them.
Broken authentication.
Yeah, we can look at that one. So let's see. This one is session management. So there's maybe just to give you everyone kind of like a broad description of what this is. So the NodeGoat app actually ships with this tutorial mode. So like it takes you, if I go back to the injection, which is what me and Priscila were presenting before, it takes you through like a step-by-step of understanding what kind of vulnerabilities exist and like how they happen. So it's telling you here, for example, there's like server-side JS injection, for example, through all of these functions are not really stuff that you could use for different reasons. Set timeout and set intervals, technically, they are a little bit different between the Node runtime and the browser. For example, with Node, you cannot pass a string, whereas for the browser, you may be, you may need to do it for some reasons. So that might work. So there are some like different aspects of them, but generally speaking, like you do not want to allow dynamic code to run. So like, don't put into it any dynamic code to be evaluated. And it's taking you, it has like, the tutorial mode has this videos for all of these kinds of attacks that could happen, which is pretty cool to see how people like replicate it, to learn from this, and giving you ideas of like, what you should feed into this evil function. Like, while one, for example, would have done some serious denial of service here to my laptop, and it would, probably go up in flames, and fan mode would kick in. Or some try some other stuff of the, some commands, more elaborate kind of exploits, how to read data and send it back. How do I prevent it? All of the stuff that Priscila said, basically, like, why should you, evaluate parse this as eval, maybe try parse int. And then, there are different kind of like, it tries to go to the OWASP top 10. So you see the different kind of attacks here. So broken out. Priscila, you said this one, and we could look at what's going on here. So it says like, what are the attacks that are possible? Basically, different forms of, with sessions and broken authentication, we kind of like don't want our accounts to be taken, right? We want to protect that cookie and whatever that is.
Yes, right. It's very important.
Cool. And there are different ways of doing this. Like it starts with protecting user credentials. So for example, not saving the passwords on the plain text on the database, right? There's that. So it's showing us, like, for example, how to do it right with, encrypting them, well, not encrypting them, and hashing them, one-way hash functions with bcrypt, for example, here. So it's showing us how to do this properly, which is, in the code itself, this is, kind of probably commented out. So, it's vulnerable by default. Session timeouts and protecting cookies in transit is super important. For example, these flags, which Priscila, remember we talked about instantiating, like the defaults of using libraries sometimes are pretty bad.
I don't remember, but Can you talk more a little bit about it?
Yeah, so let's go about it. For example, with Swig, where it had like this set default out of
yes, sure, yeah.
So kind of like the same thing with cookies. Like, if you probably had some comments here to show you like different things that you should do. So where is it? Like the session ID should probably not be a generic one. Let's see what the tutorial mode suggests. Like HTTP only and secure basically means that we are trying to prohibit access to it, to the session cookie. So like no one can take it. If they access JavaScript on the page, they won't be able to interact with the cookie because it's only available on the wire. This is the HTTP only. And secure kind of says, this is only available to HTTPS enabled sessions. So like, it's no one could be sniffing it, if they're using HTTP for some reason. Some places in the world, I guess, still use that. Hopefully, not too many. But yeah, that's a whole different topic. By the way, Priscilla, do you know about this, the HTTP archive? You heard about that one? HTTP archive, let me take you to that one. It's a pretty cool project where they look at different, so they kind of like scour the web in a sense, not really scrape it, but kind of monitor it in a sense. And every year or every bit of time, and there's some real-time reports we'll see in a second, where they kind of like give you a glimpse of specific status of what's happening like on the web. For example, let's see what's it like JavaScript is the amount of bytes, requests, and boot up time. So this one showing like the page weight has gone from, we can take like a bigger time. Yeah, and like this is the growth of SPAs, right? This is more JavaScript onto the client side. This is the growth of JavaScript in bytes to the browser, sent to the browser, and it's like examining like thousands of or millions of requests. There's more data about it. Let me show you the one about HTTPS, which was so it got me thinking about this one. Is it? Honestly, don't remember exactly the day. There we go. HTTPS requests. Looks like we are doing, still on the rise. Doing pretty well. Started with 26% HTTPS usage across mobile and desktop, and look at that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Really cool.
I would say a lot of the there aren't really spikes. It's still pretty trendish, but I would say the whole awareness of probably kind of like related HTTP headers like HSTS, strict HTTPS kind of like mode that sets the browser to only accept those, and maybe Let's Encrypt got a lot of attention out, and people have been using that to basically run their own SSL certificates and just run on HTTPS, because this has been like you needed to buy this and pay a lot of money before. So maybe that has been the monetary stand of it was something that was keeping people from adopting it. But of course, well, a lot of like big players like Chrome being the default or the major player in the browser space is kind of like helping shape this better.
Yeah.
Let's go back to maybe a few other things here. So we talked about some of this stuff. There's session hijacking and different stuff that you could replicate here. XSS is a form of injection, and we saw one of those. Insecure DOR is an interesting one. Have you heard about this one before?
This was something new to me.
So it's like such a simple kind of a problem if you think about what's going on here. But I'm kind of like keeping a log of all of the mentions that of like breaches and like data leaks related to insecure direct object references from like big companies, because like it just shows that those simple mistakes, beyond the injection, all of those kind of like things, people go straight to XSS and all of those stuff. But this is a really, theoretically like a simple issue that people are not paying too much attention to. And what it basically means is, what is insecure direct object reference is where we are trying to access an object in the system in a way that might be even like really easily guessable. Like you could brute force it if you knew how to enumerate it, and through that there's like missing authentication, because people just assume that if you have access to the specific ID, then you can access it. So let me give an example of like what's going on here. I don't remember where exactly it shows. I think the allocations. Let's go there. I'll show you what it means in practice. Of course, it's an example, but I think it makes the point just fine. So if you're on this screen, I'll make this a little bit bigger. This is, think about what this app in reality could have been, right? This is employee retirement savings systems, and you could see if you're the user admin or someone else, you could see the way that I am. I guess this is the distribution of stocks or something for my retirement plan. You could see exactly how it works. All here pretty cool. And let's ignore this whole potential user input, what could be done here. But if you look at the URL, right, this says allocations/1. And that's where things get interesting. This is the insecure direct object reference, where what happens if people like now understand that 1 identifies the user ID. So this is probably the user admin 1. And what happens if you just try 2, for example, like maybe Priscilla, maybe this is your system, like your user ID, or someone else who like signed up, registered as like the second place.
Oh yes, so I always verify if this user has access to it before displaying the content.
Awesome. Exactly.
But this is something I already do like automatically. I even didn't remember about this issue.
You're a good, very security-aware developer. But it happens a lot. I'll put some links afterwards, maybe about some of these leaks that happen because of like if I just change it to 2, you see this is someone else's, now John Doe, and this like doesn't really have. There's no tag that it happens just because I'm admin. Just that the fact that anyone else could log in and watch someone else's allocations, because kind of like I would say behind the scenes, I guess the developer who like had this bug might have thought like, who would, like if you have the actual object ID, like, this could be something else, right? This could be something a lot more elaborate. And you would say like, hey, this is kind of like random and you don't have access to it, et cetera, et cetera. But you still have to check that someone has, like, if I'm Will Smith, I actually have access to this object 3347, blah, blah, blah in the URL to be able to read it or write to it, God forbid, and not just the fact that I know it. So this is kind of like where this is the tutorial was taking us, and you could see like it's I think I'm not sure this is the insecure code taking place, just like getting the user ID and not doing anything else, and like they're suggesting here. Safer alternative is to always retrieve allocations for the logged in user, for example, through the session ID, and not take the ID from the URL. So you just you say, hey, what are the allocation ID allowed to this user? I'll render that rather than take this from this, what is it? The query param here. The last one maybe to show is I like showing that demo. Let me see where I have it. No, not this one. Priscilla, were you gonna add anything?
There is that one trying to. I think it's phishing. You can change the URL and it will redirect you. You can copy, and it will redirect you to another website. So with that message, click here, so we will win €1 million. I don't know, something like that.
The phishing attack.
Yeah, maybe you can check that.
I don't think it has. The NodeGoat doesn't have that kind of capability, as far as I remember. Have you seen it?
Or I think seen it.
Have seen it in this one?
Yeah, I think I've seen something similar, but I don't remember well.
Maybe the redirects?
Yes, maybe.
Okay, so yeah, so this is another one that was like the point here was if you are allowing to redirect to different pages after a successful or unsuccessful operation, it doesn't really matter. But if you're allowing anyone to basically put a URL there, then you are kind of able to confuse users and get them to trust the first website, not the second one. But I'm kind of like saying here, or I don't know if we can test it out. Let's see, this is example learning resources link. Oh, I think this is actually like, I think it's this one, learning resources. And I think it has a, yeah. So if I click on it, what happens? Okay, it's taking us here. So if you look at what's happening, copy link address. Okay, let me put that into this memo so you could like see what's going on. So this link that you were talking about, Priscilla, this is us. It's not exactly phishing, but it's kind of like a. Totally agree that it's very similar to that mindset. So basically, this application allows you to provide any URL. Like this is anything custom that you would add, and it accepts it. So what you want to do is, maybe the URL that you want, like if this is, company, ABC, right? What you want to do is the URL would be company ABC, / page 1 or whatever, right? You want to be able to redirect users internally, subdomains or trusted URLs or something like that, but but not allow anyone else to put whatever they want to, like, attacker.com something. So once they do that, then if you honor this, right, this could be like, I have no idea what attacker.com, and I don't know if this is like, safe to stream here, so I'm not gonna click it. But if you do that, the system right now, because it doesn't validate the URL, that it's relative or whatever, it just allows you to just redirect you there. It provides user the trust that this URL is real. So I could send a phishing email to Priscilla, and the email could be real. The address, you could like look at it and say, hey, like this is company ABC, like I know this company, this is the URL is legitimate, right? Without really looking too much at what's coming up at the URL redirect here, the parameter, and imagine like a lot of like longer strings in URLs, and if you click it, the redirect happens and it takes you to an attacker controlled website, which bad things would dangerously happen. Yeah, yes. was you where you were going with this, I guess, right?
Yes.
Good call. There are many of those kind of things. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are many of these kind of things everywhere.
Cool. So you were asking me before about how we were, what kind of stuff we could do to prevent that, some of these things. So I'll give you a gist of some of this and a bit of a plug on snake stuff. But generally speaking, like so there are several issues that were happening here. Some of them are configuration, like misconfiguration, like the cookies and all of those stuff. Others could be the fact that maybe we're using like insecure libraries that add some of these issues, like the XSS, insecure markdown or something like that. So this is everything between the code that you write and the code that you bring in. And so what I have here is I've installed the Sneak extension, which you could just get from the plugins marketplace thing on IntelliJ. Click run scan, and I'm not an IntelliJ power user, but it's pretty easy to operate. So it's you asked me before, but this is like totally free. You could the only thing you need to do is like authenticate to get like an API token thing. But beyond that, this is all free and you don't need to pay for anything. You could just get started. And look, it already gives you a few issues like the package lock. So sees the package manifest. And there are some issues here like prototype pollution, which could be noisy, could be not, depends. You need to kind of like go through them. And it shows you like how to fix it. If there's exploit for it, like people could weaponize it against us and stuff like that. And interestingly, also, it has code security issues. These are the SAST stuff. So this is, for example, where the very obvious things that jumped to you as like eval is used. So like this the Sneak code extension thing also found it and kind of like yells about the same thing and gives you even like example other projects of how they fixed it. So with Evil, it's kind of like, just get rid of it. But with other issues, it might be a bit, more tricky, and you want to look at, like you said, right? Like as developers, we may not be, doing too much security day to day, so we may not know like how it needs to get fixed. So it could be helpful, kind of like GitHub Copilot thing, to kind of like look at examples of how they're fixing it and maybe do something similar.
Yeah, sure. This is really cool. It's just like a ESLint, I would say.
Exactly.
Does it also points out to the vulnerability that you have in your code?
I don't know. I think so. So when I do it like that and I click, just oh, do you mean like, does it have the wiggly line like ESLint has?
Yes.
I'm not a power user for maybe this, for IntelliJ, so maybe here it works a bit differently. It does that for VS Code.
Cool.
In VS Code it happens, yeah.
Okay.
But the IntelliJ one, I have like no idea how people do this here. But it does have this, and it has the code flow. So like you could actually jump through the flows. And while some things are kind of like, obvious, like don't use evil, remember that a lot of the times you might be working actually like not in greenfield projects, not in new projects, but in legacy projects. The code base is big. You like, maybe there's a lot of evil and you would know about it, but you haven't never scanned it, so you have no idea.
Yeah.
So it finds all of those things and like hard-coded secrets that probably should not be there. This open redirect, like it found it, right? This is what we were talking about before. And maybe you've missed it, or you don't know that you even have it in the project, but it will find this stuff for you, and some other things that might be worth looking into.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm gonna install this plugin.
Cool. Let me know how that goes. So let me get back into I wanted to show the project here first. So if anyone wanted to get your hands on, we actually went a lot here, right? On this NodeGoat project, it's again open source. Just search NodeGoat, you'll find the OWASP project page for it on GitHub. Clone it. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me and ask on Twitter or anywhere else. Shoot some questions to Priscila. I think she'll be happy to help as well. Yeah, what do you think? Was that fun?
Yes, very fun. I really enjoy it to learn more about security and get to know things that I can use to prevent some attacker. And yeah, it was cool. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for being here. So this is prompting me to you have some shout outs that you wanted to mention. It doesn't have to be too many. Can be just one. And was there anything you wanted to call out before we head over and summarize and conclude the stream?
So something I can recommend. So I'm a series addicted. I'm always watching something, and
TV.
Yeah, maybe I can recommend a series called The Queen's Gambit. It's on Netflix. Gambit. Yeah, The Queen's Gambit. It's on Netflix, and it's really, it's fantastic. You should check it out.
It's a great show. I totally support that. Yeah, are you looking for the what is it? There's like there isn't a second season, or is there? Is there like a second season for like a follow-up, or not yet?
If there is a season?
Yeah, like a new season coming out.
Oh, I don't think so. I think it was a mini series.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think so. No.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll surprise us. We'll see. Netflix.
Yeah. Let's see.
All right. Cool. What else did we want to go through? If you've enjoyed the Sneak Code demo kind of like stuff, you could check it out from the plugin marketplace for VS Code or the IntelliJ one that's already there. And I think the last one we have is if you want to follow more of Priscila resources, as she shared them on Twitter and stuff like that, you could go over to her Twitter account, follow her, and just say hi. I see you've mentioned here Verdaccio as well. So if you wanted to ask anything about getting with open source or contributing, joining Verdaccio as well. You have Priscila and you have Juan, which we mentioned, and just go to the open source project. They'll be happy to get you started as well.
Yeah, we'll be happy. We'll be happy to guide you through Verdaccio and
cool.
Help you with anything you need.
All right, so I think we're this is almost the end of it. The next sessions are going to be on the Snyk live streams page, so you can go and view there. And we're working out on the agenda, so hold tight on that one. But beyond this, I'm gonna thank Priscila, who has been here with me through this learning experiment and studying a little bit about different security issues with Node and JavaScript in general. So thank you, Priscila.
Thank you. It was nice. Thank you.
As well, and we'll also thank you all for joining the live stream as well, and hope to see you next time. So if you want to ping us, these are the URLs, and you know where to find us. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.